So, this new moon in Leo is a total solar eclipse, which means that whatever happens or gets initiated in this total solar eclipse will be felt for up to a year. And I thought about naming this Total Eclipse of the Heart, and actually that's the title I have on it now because I was thinking about that song that goes, "Total eclipse of the heart." You know what I'm talking about? And that song is about a breakup, and it's kind of a sad song, and I think that's actually maybe sometimes appropriate. An eclipse is not always just a happy time, and in this, image here, it looks really fluffy and happy, so I it could be, it kinda depends on your chart, but I do have here some cute, cuddly little lion cub friends because I feel like the new moon in Leo has this, like, really cuddly, cute vibe to it, and then there's a few other aspects that I'm gonna talk about with this new moon, and one of them is this grand air trine, which is a channel of energy in a triangle that in an air sign would be very inspiring, and it's a really nice energy. And because it's air, I threw in some symbolism here. This is the Venus and Libra here. We got with the swans, Uranus and Gemini with the hummingbirds pollinating flowers, and the flock of starlings that move all around in those cool patterns is Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius. So just having a little fun there. So my guide is, again, just the new moon in Leo. If you know anyone that has um, the moon in Leo, they can be super sweet and cute. They can also roar like a lion, that is true, but there's a really cute, sweet vibe to it. But let's move on. So I am going to go over the north and south nodes because they shifted in July, the total solar eclipse with the new moon in Leo. Then we'll look at the Venus opposition to Neptune. That's going to be happening at that time. And then the grand air trine, which I was just talking about a moment ago. Before I do that, though, I want to go back a little bit to what I was talking about last time, which was the Jupiter Cazimi opposed to the Hades moon, which is Pluto in aspect to the moon in this case. The moon was conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, and the energy of the time was really like thoughts of valor and heroicism, and the idea that these heroes get to go to heaven for their valor and their chivalry and the goodness that they spread on the earth. So there's a lot more to that. Just kind of summarizing that. You can go back and watch my video on that if you're interested. But after I did that video, the next day, there was a really tremendously heroic act that happened just near the beach where I live. And I want to show that video now because I feel like it really demonstrates this energy of heroicism and the drama and a near death experience, really. So I will go ahead and show you that now. Sorry, I need to give me a moment. I need to share it correctly here. Okay. So this is down at the beach. This is a 16-year-old lifeguard who refused to let go of this young this boy who was 11 years old, who was caught in a rip current. And if you can't see the video, there's lots of men are coming out to try to help the lifeguard, and the lifeguard pushes them away because he doesn't want them to get caught. He just does not let go of this boy. And the waves are really, really huge. I went down to the beach on the day of the full moon, and they were still really big. Finally, another lifeguard approaches, and they were able to save him. So I wanted to bring that up because I felt like the energy was so Jupiter and Leo, and actually really Aries and Neptune too. This idea of the warrior in the ocean, literally, which is Neptune. And there's a lot that I could say. There's this beautiful poem here that I came across too that I thought really was apropos. But I'm going to move on now. So that was the energy that we were in. We're in a new energy now. So let's look at what's going on here. I can already feel it intensifying. Eclipses are very powerful. I feel like they are an energy that is really inescapable. It's, in a way, it's really godly. I mean, it's like a sort of a reminder that, we're not in charge, God is. Okay. Before we get into the eclipse, though, I'd like to just go over briefly the nodes, and maybe I'll just do a whole episode on the nodes. But I think it's helpful to understand how an eclipse works if you understand the nodes. So what are the nodes? A node is Latin for knot. These are the knots or the places where the moon's orbit is tied to the Earth's orbit or the ecliptic plane. And when the moon moves from southern latitudes to northern latitudes, crossing the ecliptic plane, because if this is the Earth's ecliptic plane, the moon is about a 5-degree shift from it. And where they cross shows the north and the south node. So I have that here in a slide. It's so much easier to understand with an image. So you can see here, this is the Earth's ecliptic plane right here. Its orbit around the sun. And then this is the moon's orbit. And where they cross is the north node and the south node. And all planets have north and south nodes, but in astrology, we really focus on the moon because it's the planet that is closest to us, the object in the sky that we see all the time. Maybe not all the time, but a lot of the time. What do they mean in astrology? In Western astrology, they've kind of come to mean this, and I got this from Judith Hill. So the South Node is where we come from, our past patterns, comfort zone, and gifts. And then the North Node is where we are going, our soul's growth, purpose, and highest potential. And if you look at a birth chart, you can actually you could do a reading just based on the nodes. They're really interesting, and you can gain a lot of insight. When I looked at it in my chart, and when I've looked at it in other people's charts, it's really striking how much they can explain about yourself and what you're here really to do. I can't let the notes go though without talking a little bit about William Lilly, because I was trained and read this book, Christian Astrology by William Lilly, and I'll just summarize it quickly. But and this is not uncommon. Many ancient cultures would describe, to some in some way like the head of the dragon is the north node and the tail of the dragon is the south node. And it has a lot to do with reincarnation too. Like then and the nodes represent this energy that we go through. Um, Lily says that they're really not fortunate or unfortunate. I think sometimes like north node gets described as fortunate and the south node as unfortunate, but I don't know that that's really like the best way to think about the nodes. A lot depends on the planets that are there, the planets that are there natally, the aspects that they make, and what planets are transiting through there. And like I said, you could do a whole reading. I could do a whole reading just based on this. And I would recommend looking at it in your chart where the north and the south node are going to be. So the south node is going to be in Leo, the north node is going to be in Aquarius. It's going to be at 20 degrees. Do you have any planets at 20 degrees? Do you have any planets in Leo or Aquarius? How are you going to be affected by all of this? Just a brief side note about eclipses. So once you understand the ecliptic plane, you can see how it's so exciting when it really meets up. And so the one that we are going to be in is the solar eclipse, which is a new moon. So that's going to be an alignment of sun, moon, earth, all lined up. Eclipse it comes from the Greek word eclipsis, and I don't know how to pronounce that exactly, but it does mean abandonment and disappearance. And I think it's really important to point out, especially because I feel like a lot of things on social media present the eclipses as like something that is really kind of like it's like almost too good to be true. Like it's gonna like change your life and maybe be so wonderful. And it's true, it really could change your life, but it's not always just like it's not always like a good time. And in fact, like if you look at through history, eclipses have often been times where important leaders have been overthrown or natural disasters have occurred. It kind of makes things like tenfold. So it can make something bad tenfold. It can make something good tenfold. It really depends. And this is a great article I recommend. I'm not going to go into it, but it looks at all the different, not all, but a lot of, major world cultures and how they viewed eclipses from, ancient times. And one thing that is really common in how they saw it is they really saw it as God speaking to them. So it's like daylight outside, and then all of a sudden it's night, and then it's daylight again. And the ancient Greeks said it was a forsaking of the gods. It was like an abandonment of God or a disappearance, and it wasn't particularly a good omen. So that's something to keep in mind here. I just want to drill home this idea. So I love this book by Sophia Mason, and she talks about lunations and eclipses. When you have a solar eclipse, the length of that influence will be up to 1 year. So, like, if you want to scale that back, like a lunar eclipse would be 6 months. A new moon, that energy lasts for a month, and a full moon, the energy lasts up to 2 weeks. So let me read you this. This is from her book. The effects of an eclipse are far more powerful than an ordinary lunation. For example, a new moon in the second house, favorably aspected, could bring a winning raffle ticket of $100. The same aspects with a solar eclipse might bring a lottery win of 10,000. So you can see it's just like things get magnified. Or scaled up is another way of saying it. So here we have the chart. So let's take a look. So you can see if you look at the Leo segment up at the top of the chart in the 10th house. It's 20 degrees where the new moon is going to be, and we do have Jupiter there in orb, which is really nice. That's good. Although it is opposing Pluto, we're still in that. Although we're moving away. And then if I could point out to you, there is a trine. If you can see the trine from Saturn in Aries. So Saturn is in Aries at 14 degrees. And it's making a trine aspect, which is a harmonious aspect to the sun and the moon. Although it is separating, but it's still there. I would say that the energy is still there, which is a nice energy. And then if you could look towards the ascendant, you'll see the glyph. I wish I had a pointer. I need to figure out how to do that on here. But if you could find the glyph for Venus in Libra, it will be in the 12th house in this chart. And it's opposing Neptune in Aries, which is at 4 degrees. And that's an opposition. That's a 1-degree opposition. That's tight. And that's going on while the new moon is taking place. And I want to go over that a little bit with you. I think it's an important aspect to take note of, as well as there's a grand air trine between, if you can see the blue triangle there, between Venus, Pluto, and Uranus in Gemini. And so Uranus is at 5 degrees, Venus in Libra is at 5 degrees, and Pluto is in Aquarius at 3 degrees. So the Venus opposition to Neptune. Neptune is similar to Venus in some ways. Like Neptune can also bring gifts and beauty and blessings, but it's very two-sided. There's a duality nature to Neptune. It can also bring disillusionment. And so as I see this aspect is telling us to be wary of our imagination. And this can show up a lot in relationships because we have Venus here. And so I want to give you an example. Let's say that, and it can be romantic or otherwise, but you meet someone and then you start imagining all these like wonderful things that maybe they're going to do for you, or you can even picture them right now, that they're so wonderful, and these ideas and things that pop up in your imagination. I think it's important with this aspect to remember that that is your imagination and it's not real. I think that with an opposition there, that's a challenging aspect, and there's kind of a face-off going on between Venus and Neptune here, kind of a standoff, and it's important not to get caught up in that. Let me give you an opposite example. So the reverse example of that is, let's say you're in a relationship with someone and you're picturing all these terrible things that they're doing. You may find your mind wandering, like they're cheating on me, they're flirting, like all these things. I think it's important to step back and remember that that is your imagination, and that is not true. You don't know if that's true. Like, I could be true, but you don't know if it's true or not. Let me bring up these quotes by Byron Katie, who I adore. She says, "Everyone in your life is a figment of your imagination, even you." So all these things you imagine about yourself, nobody sees us like we do. No, she also says, no two people live in the same world. Another quote she says is, "Seeking love keeps you from the awareness that you already have it, that you are it." So that's that aspect. And Then the one that I wanna bring up is about it a bit earlier, is this grand air trine. It's like a channel of flowing energy between the air signs. It can be very inspiring, with Leo being in the new moon, it could be very expressive and very creative and very loving. So it's a really nice aspect there. So you may find your something flowing for you really nicely coming up here. And so I'll leave you with this. Not a total eclipse of the heart, hopefully not for most of you, but express your authentic heart no matter what, even if it's a total eclipse of the heart. Express your authentic heart. The grand air trine, flow with ease, clarity, and inspiration. See the big picture and trust the path. New moon in Leo, a courageous new beginning from the heart. Shine your light, be seen, be you. Speak your truth, follow your joy, be unique. The world is ready for your light. I hope that this video finds you well, and if you watched it up to now, thank you very much. I appreciate your support, and I hope it's helpful for you. Thank you. Bye.